I think there's a variety of things. I think that a lot of the credit for where Daniel has been able to achieve things comes through his father's tutelage of him. But there is also a point where there is challenges that are coming. Daniel is, needs to be spoken to in a certain way. There are certain communication tools that Daniel responds to, and Don Charles has been very successful in achieving that. But there was this relationship that I think most people in boxing think is a good thing in one respect and perhaps a debilitating thing in another.
Hi, I'd like to thank Don Charles for the hard work and effort he's put into me over the last 18 months. But now I feel like I need a fresh change and a new start for this next phase of my career, where I look to become two-time heavyweight champion of the world. God bless.
Well, it's a change that they want because it hasn't gone his way. I think, Don's been very good for Daniel Dubois. I agree with that. In spite of the shellacking I got from him after he beat Anthony Joshua, I'm fully in favour of what Don did with Daniel Dubois. I don't think there's anything that Don did wrong.
This moment ties straight into the title, "They Use and Abuse You." Nelson exposes how Dubois' kindness is being twisted into weakness. His career turned into a messy circus instead of a serious boxing camp. No top fighter would tolerate such chaos, and Dubois' split only highlights how lost he truly is.
A fresh approach for the next phase of my career as I push forward to becoming 2 times heavyweight champion of the world. God bless. I'll be making a further statement regarding my new team structure very soon. In initial reaction to Don Charles being relieved.
Nelson admits Don Charles was loyal and passionate, yet Dubois still discarded him. That's the theme. They use and abuse you. Don may not have been the strictest, but he was dedicated. Dubois exploited that loyalty until it no longer suited him, proving weakness in character, not strength in ambition.
Don Charles being relieved.
Well, it was cold. I think it was Spencer Fearon that called it. It was cold. That would be the case. And so, how do you look at it? And Don had been loyal to Team Dubois all the way through. Don, I think he's a good trainer. I don't think he's a strong trainer. And when I say that is as in strong. Put your foot down. Don't take no shit from anybody else outside the camp. That's where he's not strong. I think he's a very smart trainer, and he gets it. He's passionate.
Here's the brutal truth. Don Charles wasn't just a coach, he was the man who stood by Dubois through thick and thin, guiding him back after defeats and keeping his career afloat. He helped Dubois rebuild confidence and played a part in him grabbing those comeback wins. To cut him loose now isn't a fresh start, it's betrayal. This split shows how quickly Dubois forgets loyalty when he feels pressure, and that's exactly why people say they use and abuse you.
There were some very fine performances. So, including the Anthony Joshua fight, Hergovich, Miller, he looked very, very good. I think Don was very good for bringing Daniel through.
David Haye tries to dress it up, but the facts don't lie. Don Charles was the man in W's corner for his world title challenge, and through his rebuilding phase, he secured him those big nights and victories when many doubted him. For W to say things got stale is laughable. Don Charles wasn't the problem. W's own inconsistency was. By abandoning the man who delivered results, W shows he values excuses over loyalty. Once again, Nelson's words echo. W is being used, abused, and now even discarding the only figure who truly stuck by him.
Put out a statement saying he split up with trainer Don Charles. Did you see that statement? What do you think about it?
Yeah, a lot of fighters after they have a loss want to sort of jump to a different coach. Maybe thinks things have got stale. Maybe wants to change, and I hope he finds what he's looking for. Obviously, Don wasn't. He lost confidence in what he was bringing to the table. So hopefully, whoever he works with, he gets that additional confidence because he's got a great ability.
This so-called fresh start feels more like running away from responsibility. Don Charles guided Dubois through his biggest tests, even helping him rebuild after heavy criticism. Yet Dubois ditches him at the first stumble. Instead of stability, he's chasing shadows, proving Nelson right. Dubois isn't leading his own career. He's being used, abused, and tossed around like a pawn.
Look, in regards to Don Charles, Daniel's made the decision that he wanted to change. Don Charles has been an amazing part of Daniel's career, guided him to become a world heavyweight champion.
To call this a good move is to ignore the history. Don Charles was the man who stood by Dubois when critics tore him apart, guiding him back into the spotlight with discipline and direction. He gave Dubois victories that rebuilt his reputation and carried him into the conversation for world titles again. Yet, what did he get in return? A ruthless dismissal, no loyalty, no gratitude. Just another reminder of Nelson's brutal point. They use and abuse you. Dubois is treating boxing like a revolving door, discarding those who genuinely supported him for the illusion of something better. If he thinks this instability will bring him success, he's wrong. Fighters who burn bridges with the very people that saved their careers rarely find solid ground again. This isn't a fresh start, it's a step backwards dressed up as ambition.
Don Charles, you know, it's a shame that he's got the chop. I thought he was very good for Daniel Dubois. He didn't do anything wrong in that contest with...
Spencer Oliver's words reveal just how messy things have become in Dubois' camp. It's not just Don Charles who's been shown the door. Others like Kieran Farrell are gone too, meaning Dubois is tearing down the entire foundation of his career. This isn't progress, it's panic. Don Charles was the backbone who guided Dubois through the storm, delivering him those vital wins and proving he could still be relevant at the highest level. To sack him after all that, and now shuffle through names like Tony Sims screams instability. Nelson's theme of "they use and abuse you" echoes here loudly. Dubois took all he could from Don, then discarded him when things got tough. A fighter who chops and changes his corner this way shows weakness, not strength. This isn't about boxing improvement, it's about excuses and fear, and sooner or later it will catch up to Dubois.
Part of that team.
Yeah, I feared for that, didn't you?
Yeah, that is true as well, and I think that Don's going to release a statement in due time. Kieran Farrell, obviously, out of there as well. So Sam's going to change his whole team up. Where he goes, Tony Sims is rumoured to be that trainer. Right. So that, you know, that...
Duke McKenzie hits the nail on the head. Don Charles knew Daniel Dubois better than anyone. His strengths, his flaws, and exactly how to motivate him when the pressure was highest. He was more than just a coach, he was a mentor who rebuilt Dubois after setbacks that could have ended his career. To sack him at this stage is not just questionable, it's reckless. Dubois has chosen disruption over stability, weakness over loyalty. They use and abuse you. That phrase couldn't be truer here. Don Charles gave Dubois belief when no one else would, guided him into victories, and pulled him through moments where his career was hanging by a thread. To discard a man like that isn't ambition, it's betrayal.
But he knows the kid inside out. Yeah. He knows how he works. He knows all the mechanics behind that kid and how to motivate and get the best out of him. We've seen it. And to get rid of him now at this point, I think it's a bad move.
Paul Smith exposes another ugly truth, the influence of Dubois' father in the camp. This is where the real problem lies, and why no trainer, not even someone as loyal as Don Charles, can survive in that environment. Don Charles was handcuffed from the start, forced to navigate family interference while still trying to bring the best out of Dubois, yet he stuck around, delivered results, and proved his worth. And what was his reward? Getting tossed aside once his usefulness was drained. It's the same theme Nelson outlined. Dubois' camp is toxic, where people are used and then discarded. No serious fighter allows outside influence to override the authority of a trainer. As long as Dubois continues to let family politics dictate his boxing decisions, he will keep sabotaging himself. Losing Don Charles wasn't just a bad move, it was the final proof that Dubois is lost in his own camp.
But it's obviously no secret that his dad is a heavily influential person in the camp, in the team, and as long as that relationship is going to be the way it is, as in not just father-son relationship, it's going to be challenging for any trainer that gets involved, or any manager that maybe get involved as well.
Eddie Hearn's reaction underlines what everyone is thinking. This wasn't a move of ambition, it was a move of desperation. Don Charles stood with Dubois when the walls were closing in, guiding him back to wins and relevance after critics had written him off. He wasn't just a coach, he was a lifeline. To discard him now is the clearest sign yet that Dubois doesn't understand loyalty. This is why Johnny Nelson's words sting so much. They use and abuse you. Dubois used Don Charles for stability, for credibility, for victory, then dumped him the second he felt pressure. That isn't how champions are built, it's how careers collapse. Hearn is right. The question isn't who trains Dubois next, it's whether Dubois even knows what he wants. Without Don, he's not starting fresh, he's starting lost.
Sooner or later, I mean, he is getting on. I mean, forget the professional fights, actually, which he's had a lot, not bucket loads, but it's the amateur contests as well. I mean, what, over 200 amateur fights.
This final clip sums up everything. The story of Daniel Dubois and Don Charles isn't just about boxing, it's about loyalty, betrayal, and the ugly truth of the sport. Don Charles wasn't just another name in the corner, he was the man who gave Dubois the foundation to rebuild his career. When others had written him off, Don stayed. He guided him to victories, reminded him of his strengths, and carried him back into world-level conversations. And what did he get in return? A cold dismissal, tossed aside as though his efforts meant nothing. Johnny Nelson's brutal honesty was right on the money. They use and abuse you. Dubois drained every ounce of belief, trust, and guidance Don gave him, then moved on the moment he wanted change. That's not how champions are made. That's how careers fall apart. Because without loyalty, without stability, no fighter can truly stand tall under pressure. The question now isn't who trains Dubois next. It's whether he can even survive this self-inflicted chaos. Don Charles deserved respect, not rejection, and in turning his back on the one man who stood by him, Dubois may have just signed the death warrant on his own career.